Here's one thing I wanted to talk about in regards to um, figuring out what are kind of like valid order blocks and fair value gaps and even like targets, you know, targets for of liquidity of the opposite side, that sort of thing. So, for example, right now we're in a clear downtrend, right? And basically, let's say you're waiting for a reversal. Excuse me, I'm a little sick right now. So, what should you be looking for? Obviously, we're in a clear, hard downtrend, right? You should not be trying to take any longs right now. This one tapped into that fair value gap and went down. The fair value gap's here, but none of them got tapped into. This one didn't get tapped into. Or this one here. So, I mean, the market is respecting fair value gaps. This is just a clear downtrend. If you're a trend line trader, yeah, man, obviously you're in a crazy downtrend, right? I mean, there's just nothing telling you should be taking a long right now. Now, there are two things I put together to make me know a trend is reversing and that I could maybe start considering longs. One, are you above a trend line? Like we, as beginners, we're obsessed with, once we kind of learn about RRs and all that sort of stuff, we're like obsessed with getting a great entry, and that's when they call it, catching a falling life. If we're clearly in a downtrend, you shouldn't be taking buys unless we have some sort of indication that we're going to be bullish. So look, we're underneath this trend line, we're underneath this trend line. Like, why are you trying to take longs here? Or like, oh, if I get a long and it reverses here, that's a great RR. Yeah, but you're just going to be stopped out 9 times out of 10. So don't take any longs until you're above a trend line. Okay, so that's kind of the retail trader part of it. Obviously, I don't want to do that by myself. I don't want to do that by itself, but let's just say that. So your first potential indication that price could be reversing is an inverse fair value gap, right? So you see here, this is a fair value gap. Price might close above here, and that will be an inverse fair value gap, which will mean that, okay, price could potentially be reversing, right? Another one is SMT. If you look at the correlation between NQ and ES, one of them makes a lower low, one of them makes a higher low. That divergence is it's called SMT divergence. That could be an indication of reversing. But we look into more ICT stuff. Let me turn on an indicator. This is Lux Algo Smart Money Concepts, by the way. So you can see these breakup structures, right? And change of characters and breakup structures. That's an indication that we're also in a downtrend, a clear downtrend. You see more change of characters and like bearish change of characters and breakup structures, and you see bullish ones. So that's another clear indication we're in a downtrend. So sometimes, so let's say this is a bullish, there's a bearish breakup structure. Sometimes you'll see price come here and then make a higher high, right? Which is great. And that higher high, depending on how deep the second one is, could make a change in character over here. Okay, so for example, if price dipped down here and then came up and closed here, that would make this a change of character right here, or a market structure shift. It doesn't matter, same thing. And so the thing is, that's not really, to me, that's not really a valid market structure shift. Yeah, and I get it. You can, if there's a very value gap right there, or price retraces to the order block and holds it, maybe, right? But to me, I don't necessarily consider this a valid market structure shift because price hasn't closed above the previous breakup structure. That's how I think about it. I know that, technically it's just closing above another high, but, if that works for you, great, right? Because you get a great entry. But I just been stopped out so much, man, trying to capture that first thing that happens before this. So to me, a valid market structure shift is when I close above the previous bearish breakup structure. Sorry, I'm just trying to make this straight. So if this is a previous bearish breakup structure or market structure shift, so if I can get a bullish one to close here, to me, that is signaling that, okay, we've made some sort of pattern indication that we're bullish, and now we've actually closed above the previous, bearish signal. So, yeah, I mean, again, if you just start taking longs, you could get lucky, of course, right? Because the market is random and made of probabilities. For example, there's a fair value gap here. Price just tap this and keep going down. So that's why you can't just assume like, oh, we made the higher high, that it's going to keep going high, because you got this bearish fair value gap here. And then, for retail traders that trade fib levels, for example, to them, this is still a valid trade too. This is still a valid bearish trade because price is still within the range of this. So, for example, if you were trading as a retail trader and use a fib tool, right? What do they say? From the high to the low? By the way, as far as knowing how to use the fib tool, I've turned it into something completely mechanical, and that's not based off of my own subjectivity. Like, oh, is this the low? Is this the high? All I do is use the uppermost or the high of a printed change of character or breakup structure, a bearish one, right? So this is a bearish breakup structure. So then this is the high of it. I take that and then I go and bring it down. Sorry, I'm making some weird changes. I've changed everything back. So if you can see, price hasn't closed above this, so this is still technically bearish. Okay, so some retail trading concepts can still work. It's just nice to use them alongside ICT concepts. So, but one thing I forgot to mention is how to identify a valid order block or fair value gap. So as I told you, I don't really consider this really bullish again until it makes a positive or a bullish market structure shift. After it creates a market structure shift, which is again an indication that, okay, price is still bearish or still bullish, then that's when you start looking for fair value gaps in the order blocks. Okay, so right now, if you're looking for an order block or something, like if you're saying, oh, this is an order block right here, I think price shot from here is going to come back, so you enter here and push your stop loss below here and target high. Don't get me wrong, you could get lucky and that could work, but you don't have a bullish indicator yet, right? If you don't have a market structure shift to say, okay, the market has turned around. So you could get in there and get lucky, but 9 times out of 10, or maybe like 7 times out of 10, you're going to lose. So that's not a valid order block yet. Now, if price did come and closed up here, right? Now this is a bullish indicator. Market structure shift to the upside that closed above a breakup structure, not a market structure shift down here that closed above nothing. Again, I get the whole concept of, inverse fair value gap, but these are all fair value gaps that says that market is bearish as well. So once price closes up here, you now can say, okay, you know what, market might be having a market structure shift. And look, you're also closing above a trend line. You're also closing above an EMA. So basically it's confluence between ICT and retail traders. And that's what makes it super powerful, I think, because now you got everybody trading the same thing, looking at the same thing. So it's not only high time frame confluence, it's also, to me, kind of like trading style confluence. Nobody else really talks about that. But in any case, once the market closes above this level, you can say, okay, market might be trying to reverse. Now you can look for fair value gaps. Okay, after this prints, you can look for fair value gaps. Okay, so don't just assume that, oh, any old fair value gap will work. We should wait for fair value gaps should look for fair value gaps after there's a market structure shift. And then if there is no fair value gap, that's when you look for it to return to the order block. Okay, and that's when you look for it to return in the order block. So after the bullish market structure shift, you draw out the order block because this happened. You don't draw the order block until this happens. You don't draw a fair value gap until this happens. Okay, once you have that bullish market structure shift, you draw your order block. Sorry. Wait for price to retrace to the order block. Place your stop loss underneath here. And then what do you target? The liquidity pools that everybody's talking about. Nobody just wants to say what they are. The liquidity pools are basically those same highs of the bearish break of structures or market structure shifts. Okay, that's what they are. Nobody says them though. I know people also say like equal highs and stuff, but I just want it to be mechanical. I want it to be mathematical. I don't want any sort of subjectivity. I feel like equal highs are subjective sometimes, but once a break of structure or a change of character or market structure shift, whatever you want to call it, once it prints, that is like, and that's either it is there or it isn't there, right? That's like a fair value gap. It is there or it isn't there, and that's what we need. We need to take subjectivity out of deciding when something is like a trading indicator. So in any case, like I said, wait for the market structure shift to occur after it closes above a previous or bearish break of structure or market structure shift, change of character, right? All of those are interchangeable. Let's just say break of structure for now. So wait for price to close above the previous break of structure and also close above a trend line and also above EMAs if you trade that way. So, I mean, you got many reasons. You got so many reasons that you could enter a trade, right? But if you can have a confluence with a different trading system, then it is super powerful. Okay, so yeah, if you have, let's say you put this on and you can have 5 contracts, you can take off 4 contracts here, move your stop loss to break even, and then you can start targeting other ones. And again, your targets, which are really nice, is just if you use an indicator like this, they mark everything out for you, right? So you can just target, your targets should be these parts right here. Your targets should be all of the highs of the bearish break of structures. And you just move your stop loss. The way I move my stop loss is after every break of structure. So for example, if your stop loss is down here, once you print this one, your stop loss is down here, then let's say you create another break of structure. So you close here, you go up here, come down here, and you close up here. Now this is a new break of structure right here. To me, now I move my stop loss right here. I move my stop loss right there, and I feel like it's protected because of this break of structure. Okay, so you've already taken your profits here, right? You've already taken your profits here. Price came down and then close again. Move your stop loss to underneath the break of structure, because they should be protected, because now you're in an uptrend. You've broken the trend line, you closed above a previously bearish break of structure, you're above the EMAs, you have confluence with ICT and retail traders. So that's just something that I think has just saved me from catching the falling knife, trying to catch that reversal, because we know those reversals are really where you get those high RR trades, right? Everybody wants to try to catch those trades because that's how you grow your account. But it makes more sense. You can still catch a big trade, but you just have to be patient and wait for the signals to appear. So again, as I said, you could have gotten lucky. Look what happened here, right? Price came up here, shot up. You could say, okay, this is an order block, and then you could have got in here. But you don't have any indication that price is still bullish. You don't have any indication that price is still bullish. Now, if you wanted to say something like, okay, I'm going to go from, external liquidity to internal liquidity, you could say, okay, I'm going to go to, I'm going to target this fair value gap. Sure. That makes sense because that's a target. It's a short time frame target. Maybe do a 1-to-1 or something. So yeah, you could have done something like this maybe, but you just don't you just can't assume that it's reversing here and going to head back to the basically like London high or something like that. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that can help somebody.